Hey, thanks for watching and tuning into 168. We're so grateful that you are on this journey with us, and we would love to engage more with you. So feel free to comment below or make a comment on Twitter. We want to have these texts and these videos be interactive, and so thanks for watching along, and here's what Courtney has to say this week.
Many of us are so consumed with thoughts of the future. We want to know when the most important events of our lives will happen. I was just on Twitter the other day, and if you're on Twitter, you should like 168 on Twitter and follow us. But I was on Twitter and I was reading a thread of tweets that were responding to a UN article about what the world might possibly look like in 12 years. And people were terrified about what the possibilities are for this world that we live in. We want to know about the future so that we can be prepared for it. The future can be scary because it's full of unknowns. And this isn't a new thing. People have always been a little bit afraid of the future. People have always wanted answers for how things are going to end up. Jesus' followers were also concerned about the future. There are many times in the Gospels where we read stories of them walking with Jesus and asking Jesus to explain how different events are going to play out. They want Jesus to give them some clues into how to live in future days. And often Jesus does respond to their questions, but he does it in interesting ways that they don't always understand. Sometimes Jesus will respond with his own questions for them, making them think a little bit deeper. Sometimes Jesus speaks in almost what sounds like a code where no one can really understand what he's getting at. But in Mark 13, we see a conversation with Jesus and his friends where they are asking about the future, not just of a specific situation, but of the end of the world. These are people who are good Jews. They believe that the Messiah will come and will overthrow the Roman Empire and that the Jews will be able to rise to their rightful place in society once more, that the rule and reign of God will be present in the earth. And Jesus is also concerned about the rule and reign of God, but in a very different way than his followers are. And so Jesus doesn't really answer their question in a very satisfying way, but he does give some responses to them to kind of give them some ideas about what the end of things might look like. And Jesus points to a few signs and wonders that might accompany the end of all things. But the most important thing that Jesus tells his followers is that when the end of things comes, when you see these signs, you're to keep living as I've taught you to live. Jesus has been showing his followers all along what it means to live in this world and what it means to live in such a way that you are welcoming the kingdom of God. And so Jesus cautions his friends. He says that when you start to see these signs and wonders, there are going to be plenty of people who tell you how to live and what to do. They're going to, in some ways, instill fear into you that you need to behave in this way in order to be safe at the end of everything. But Jesus cautions his friends, and the most important thing he tells them is that they're to continue to living in the way that he modeled for them. For us, in the world that we live in, it's easy to become terrified of the future. For some of us, we're afraid of our own life events. When will I get married? Will I have kids? What kind of job will I have? Should I go to college? We have so many questions about our future, and it's hard for us to find answers. Some of us are wrestling with fear of the future in the big picture. What is the world going to look like in 12 years? What about global warming? What are we going to do at the next election? We all have questions about the future, but Jesus' message to his friends is his message to us. No matter what times we find ourselves in, we're to continue to follow Jesus' example, living in the way that Jesus lived, going through the world in such a way that welcomes the kingdom of God here and now. We don't have to be afraid of the future because Jesus has already told us what to do, to continue to be more and more like him.